That's right! Welcome to the side of the ring because it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado, we're just gonna whack! Kevin Owens wrestled at the Royal Rumble with a fractured foot, per Wrestling Observer. Owens suffered the injury on the January 5th SmackDown and hadn't wrestled since until last Saturday. No word yet on his recovery time or if he'll need to be off television. So, Kevin Owens is the second person that was injured at the Royal Rumble. He wasn't injured at the Royal Rumble. He went to the Royal Rumble injured. CM Punk was injured at the Royal Rumble. He tore his tricep. He's going to be out 4 to 6 months. He was on Raw at the time of this recording yesterday, but at the time of this upload, it was basically on Monday. And then Drew attacked him. So, it seems like Punk is going to miss Mania. At the moment, it's unclear how much time exactly Kevin Owens is going to miss. He apparently got injured when he was fighting Santos Escobar in the U.S. tournament match on the January 5th episode. He said on the backstage exclusive that he was going to get x-rays to see what it was going to look like. So, again, I don't 100% know if he's going to be... Well, I'm assuming he's going to miss time because it's a fractured foot. But, yeah, I don't necessarily know how long he's going to be out. So, give him your energy. Here's hoping he makes a speedy recovery, and he's back sooner rather than later. Sticking with WWE, a source told PW Insider that if anyone thinks Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel knew about the specific allegations in Janelle Grant's lawsuit before buying WWE or letting his daughter work there, Ashley Emanuel has worked as an executive assistant at WWE since before the merger. They, quote, don't know Emanuel or understand how, quote, ferociously he will eradicate anything that threatens his businesses. Citing Emanuel's willingness to return a $400 million investment Saudi Arabia made in Endeavor after Jamal Khashoggi's murder, the source told Insider that Emanuel won't hesitate to get rid of, quote, anything and anyone that threatens WWE's future. That's what you want. That is exactly what you want in a CEO who literally just took over the company, essentially. You don't want someone like, I don't remember his name, but the former president of NJPW, where you kind of don't really know what you're doing, and you don't really have a firm understanding of the company that you are literally running. You know, even if you don't have a firm understanding of the company that you are literally running, you want to have the mindset of, well, I don't want this to go under. I don't want anybody, you know, who works for me or anything. I would assume that Ari Emanuel is hoping that he runs the company in such a manner that he doesn't cost every single person who is currently working for this company their jobs, you know? And it's good to know that, again, he is very, you know, passionate, right? And cares a lot about the company in question. And I'm glad that I don't have to worry about Ari Emanuel's allegiance, we'll say, with WWE, or whether or not Ari Emanuel is going to run the company properly. Like I said, even if he doesn't know anything about WWE, the fact that that is his mindset of, well, I don't want anybody to destroy this, you know what I mean? So that's good to hear. And man, it really bodes well for the future going forward, doesn't it? Speaking of PW Insider, they also tell us that Mercedes Moné will be back working in pro wrestling by March and, quote, not for WWE. So, I mean, at this point, they're practically beating you over the head with the fact that Mercedes Moné will be wrestling for AEW. And it sounds like Mercedes will be back in time for Revolution, which is good. We'll be back in time. She's going to be a Revolution. That's good to hear. Interesting that we're only hearing about Mercedes Moné and not Kazuchika Okada. I feel like I've been hearing more about definitively where Mercedes is going, and more about where Kazuchika Okada may go. So maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but I feel like we know exactly where Mercedes is going now. I mean, if that isn't telling you where she's going, then man, I don't know what to do with myself anymore. And it feels like Okada has just been like floating in the ether. At least that's just my opinion. That's what it feels like. It feels like he was going to WWE, and then AEW sounded like they were trying to like reel him back over to them, and then WWE sounded like he himself wanted to go. I don't 100% know. Again, Mercedes sounds like she's locked in. I don't 100% know what Okada's going to do. So I assume Okada is going with Mercedes to AEW. I don't know when he's going to show up. Sounds like Mercedes is going to show up by Revolution. I don't know if Okada's going to show up before then as well, or maybe he's going to show up after. I don't 100% know. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Next, One that many already guessed, also from PW Insider, Rhea Ripley's WrestleMania challenger will be determined by an Elimination Chamber match at next month's show in Perth, Australia. Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan are considered the frontrunners for the Mania spot, so they'll be in the chamber match. I was under the impression that it was going to be Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. Thinking about it now, though, I don't 100% know why it would be a one-on-one match at Elimination Chamber. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, yeah, I mean, seeing that I thought that it was going to be Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley, and obviously it's not, I would be remiss if I didn't assume that Nia Jax was going to immediately slot herself into the Elimination Chamber. Sidebar, I love what they're doing with Nia Jax. I think they're doing great with her. I assume that this is where Becky Lynch is going to regain her opportunity. Because, like I said, she does not have to specifically win the Rumble to have the planned in advance match of Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40. The same reason why I was like, CM Punk doesn't have to win. You could, if it's being planned, Royal Rumble is not a factor. So I assume that Becky Lynch is going to, maybe there's going to be some type of, qualifying match. She's going to win. She's going to enter into the Rumble. Maybe be like the final 3, final 2, somewhere around there. Win, and that's how we get Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40. I'm not complaining. I'm looking forward to the match, and I assume, I could be wrong, I assume that that's how they're going to do it. Finally, Naomi will be a member of the SmackDown roster, says Fightful Select. Will she be part of the Bloodline? I'm not 100% guaranteeing that that's exactly what's going to happen, but she is married to Jimmy Uso. And Jimmy Uso is part of the Bloodline. So, I feel like there's going to be some storyline, maybe not now, it could potentially lead up to WrestleMania, I don't 100% know, okay? But at some point, I feel like Naomi's going to be doing her thing, right? And Jim's going to show up and be like, hey, I'm part of the Bloodline, why do you join? And she's going to be like, I don't really know, I'm alright, I'm good. And then maybe Jimmy, you could go down a whole bunch of lists of things that could potentially happen in regards to just that one interaction, right? Where she gets forced to join, or it's like the House of Black type storyline with Julia Hart, where eventually she gets corrupted or something. I don't 100% know, but I feel like that's something that could potentially happen. I don't want to say that that's the reason why she's on SmackDown, but I mean, Jimmy's on SmackDown, and she, is romantically involved with Jimmy. So, I mean, the story is pretty much, creating itself at that point, right? So it would be kind of weird to not have her on SmackDown because you've got a million and one different storylines just off of that, And again, like I said, she doesn't have to join the Bloodline, but I feel like her being Bloodline adjacent is a pretty interesting storyline that you could go down. You don't have to do it, but I feel like that's something that they are going to do in the future. So I don't 100% know. I can't see it in the future. So we'll have to wait and see how that storyline exactly plays out. What do we talk about? Kevin Owens fractured he wrestled with a fractured foot. He did not fracture his foot at Rumble. He wrestled with a fractured foot. CM Punk is also injured. Again, torn tricep. Going to be out for 4 to 6 months. We hope they both make a speedy recovery and they're back sooner rather than later. Although we don't 100% know the severity of Owens' injury. It's still fractured foot. You don't want that. Okay, so Endeavor CEO, Ari Emanuel, he is very I'm going to say he's just very passionate. To sum it all up, he's very passionate about the company that he is currently, in charge of, and that's what you want. You don't want someone who's just kind of aloof and sort of, standoffish, I guess, to the entire deal. So, it bodes well for the future of the company because it means that he's going to make the right decisions and not just, not really care about the direction of the company going forward. Mercedes Moné will be back working in pro wrestling by March and not for WWE. So, I mean, there you go. That's pretty much AEW. It could be TNA, MLW, but my money is on AEW, and she's going to be in time for Revolution. Okada may also join her. I don't 100% know. We'll have to wait and see if he follows behind her. Okay. Ripley's WrestleMania challenger will be determined by an Elimination Chamber match. Lynch and Morgan are considered the front runners. I also feel like Nia Jax is also going to be there as well. That's just my main guess, just by, how she just ran her over on Monday Night Raw. So, looking forward to that match. Naomi will be a member of the SmackDown roster. I don't 100% guarantee that there's going to be a Bloodline storyline that comes out of that. But if a Bloodline storyline does not come out of that, that'll be very interesting because, again, she's romantically involved with Jimmy Uso, who just so happens to be part of the Bloodline. Maybe Jimmy could try and convince her to join the Bloodline, and she says no. And then a bunch of different storylines can branch off of that. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.